Here we are on our 27th episode of our Science of Compliance podcast, where we aim to debunk myths around compliance being a business barrier to show how governance, risk, and compliance can enable your business to not only survive but thrive, particularly now through turbulent times. In this episode, we're delighted to welcome Adam Carolan, Director and Head of Strategy at NextGen Planners, to better understand Adam's practical experience in retail financial services and how NextGen Planners are supporting their planner firms in meeting market and regulatory challenges. Hello, Adam.
Hi, Chris. How are you?
All good, thank you. And your good self?
Yeah, good. I'm excited to be on the other end of this for a change. So I've been doing a lot of interviews recently. So hopefully I can give some intel into what I've been interviewing and some analysis that hopefully will help your listeners.
That'll be great. Thank you so much. You have to bear with us as well, Adam. This is only our third time that we've actually done this on a live Zoom. We'll see, let's see how this goes. But what I'd like to do is start with your good self. What we like to do at Model Office is just to get to an understanding of our guests as people, and take a little bit of a look at your career journey to date, and just to understand, how you've got to where you are today. And I know that you're obviously a young man in many ways, but you've actually had a great career journey so far. So just tell us a little bit, our listeners a little bit about and viewers a little bit about that.
Yeah, not so young anymore. Feeling older every day. I did the usual, did my school. I had a real background in finance. I really enjoyed maths, so I went to university. I actually did finance at university, business finance at Durham University, and I really enjoyed it. I was a bit of a nerd, as you'll probably see through this podcast. And my career track was to become an investment banker. So you and I have known each other for a while, Chris, and I think you probably know that I wasn't a great fit for being an investment banker living in London. So I came home homesick to Cheshire, which is where I live. And then I stumbled upon, as everyone seems to do, I couldn't get a job because I was too overqualified for any of the finance jobs in Manchester.
Right.
But someone strangely took a chance on me, and I started with sales support at a company that was Scottish Equitable, soon to be Aegon Scottish Equitable, and I absolutely loved it. I mean, my one of my first years was during A Day, and just the background of seeing how much some of the consultants earn through A Day was quite
Yeah.
interesting. So just drawn to it, and then I got headhunted to go to a financial planning firm, which interestingly I then got laid off from because it was the recession. So 2007, 2008. I remember answering some of the phone calls from clients saying, I've got Northern Rock shares, what do I do? So that was quite interesting. So then I was unemployed for about 5, 6 months. Then a firm took a chance on me. So I went in as a trainee, great firm, and I worked my way up, all the way up to running that firm. So I worked there for 10 years, great times, great people. And effectively, in the background, what had happened was I met a good friend of mine called Rohan Sivajoti, and we'd had a beer, and we said, look, the profession isn't really giving us what we want. Every time I walk into a room, I feel like the youngest person by about 20 years. I don't feel like I can talk to anyone, and it
Yeah.
doesn't feel like a profession that I want to be in long term. So, long story short, we set up NextGen Planners, which originally was a Facebook group. It then became a podcast, and today I think we've got about 1,700 members now, active members, and we've built a range of products all around a community. So we're very much a very active app-based community in financial planning in the UK, and I head that up and run that. Mainly behind the scenes, and I also take a particular liking to technology, so that's what I'm doing now.
Fantastic. Thanks for that. And what would you say? I mean, you've touched on a few there, actually. I mean, being the youngest person in the room and so forth. What would you say your biggest career challenges have been to date, and how have you overcome them?
Yeah, interesting. So running a business, as you know, is a challenge every day. So just
Indeed.
getting your head around that, being a young financial planner that then, started running a business was particularly difficult. especially with the regulations. Dealing with the regulator is very, very difficult. This is obviously a compliance and a technology podcast. Um, I wouldn't ever underestimate how difficult it is running a regulated business. So that was very difficult. Being a young financial planner and dealing with clients and how to get clients was very difficult. I absolutely loved learning that, but it's not easy to get clients. And now running NextGen planners has its own challenges. I love it every day and I hate it every day. And it's that's the that's the story of every business owner. You have ups and downs.
Absolutely, 100%. And yeah, it's in many ways it's really interesting looking at your move, from being a planner yourself to now
Yeah.
running a community, if you like, of planners. Tell us a little bit more about NextGen. So some of the listeners and viewers may have heard of you, but don't quite know exactly what you guys do. So just to let us know a bit about yourself and how you're supporting your firms in the market.
Yeah. So
Professionals, should I say?
yeah, no, that's fine. So we're primarily a community first business, and it's when we first set up the business that was very unheard of, but it's actually becoming a bit more common now that you have community first businesses. And what you're essentially doing is you're capturing people, like-minded people. So everyone thinks about next gen planners as being younger people. It's not necessarily younger people. It's like-minded financial professionals that, you know, have an idea that they want to maybe do things differently, or they've got long-term visions for their financial planning firms in the UK, and they come together and they collaborate. They ask good questions, they consume content. We built a number of products around some of the pain points that those guys have in their businesses or their careers, such as training programs and stuff like that. So ultimately, what we've tried to build is a real safe community for people to come into, whether they run a firm or they're starting their careers or they're further on in their careers in financial planning. And then we try to solve some of the problems that they have, or partner with firms that can help solve their problems, all with the same interest of we want to further the profession, because we're all in it for the same thing, Chris. I think you're in it for the same thing as well.
Yeah.
We want the profession to get better. We want to be proud of this profession, and we want to look back saying we were part of that journey.
Yeah, and I think that's a really, really important message you've given there, Adam, because when I joined, way back now, 1990, when I joined the industry, which bizarrely you mentioned a day when I joined, it was all about Section 32 buyouts, and contracting out of SERPs was the big thing in back
Yeah.
in those days. But you're very much on your own, and it was sink or swim. And I
Mm.
think what I'm hearing, and for any firm, let's say, who's maybe thinking about looking at something like your good cells, what I'm hearing is that you can offer that, definite level of support where, firms can find their way a bit more around a like-minded community. And you can actually allow them to find out what tools are out there, what support services are out there. You can develop your own stuff. I know you do a lot around training. I know Adam Owen reasonably well.
Yeah. Yeah.
You do a lot around training. Tell us a little bit about your training strategy and
Yeah,
practice.
so this was Adam Owen's brainchild really. So when we set up the business in the early days, we noticed that there was a gap in the training market. So we looked at accountants, solicitors, and they had this thing called a training contract. And a training contract was like an official contract that you're going to train for 2 or 3 years. You're not just going to do your exams, you're going to learn on the job, you're going to do other skills. So what we did in the early days is, well, and Adam was the brain, the
Yeah,
brains behind that, is we really tried to professionalize training for,
yeah,
for particularly independent financial planning firms. So if you look at the market, a lot of the tied companies already had really good academies and had, really good training contracts, but the independent market, which we're a believer in, the cottage industry, as you would say, didn't really have one central way of training people. So we brought that in, and it just went really well. Lots of firms do it. We've trained, I think, thousands of people through that form. It's gone really well. So what we've done though to take it to the next level, and we've done that recently, is we brought that into the membership because we were really concerned that cost is a barrier for people coming
Yeah.
into the sector. So at the moment, for example, it's £12.90 to be a member of NextGen Planners. And as part of that, you can actually get R01 to R06 training as part of that fee, which is incredible,
What's
really.
the
But
monthly fee, is it, Adam?
that's a monthly fee.
Yeah, that's amazing.
And we just wanted to make that as inclusive as possible. It's one of our big things is we just need more talent in the profession, learning exams, doing exams. So yeah, that's what we did with the training.
That's fantastic. Yeah. And I know, I mean, obviously, you're very active on LinkedIn and social media
Mm.
yourself. What I'm seeing is lots of good posts that you're putting out there where you are effectively trialing technology for your community and looking at, things like Microsoft Copilot and so forth. Tell us a little bit about your initiative around the tech space and what you're doing regarding helping your firms cut through the tech and AI now white noise that's out there.
Yeah, great question. So, I mean, when I was running a financial advice firm or when I was in a financial advice firm, technology seems to be the common issue that everyone has an issue with. It's always been an itch I wanted to scratch. If I'm honest, Chris, I always want to solve it. I don't think I'll ever solve it, but I'll try and solve it. But what I wanted to do is help firms understand the power of technology in their business,
Mm,
but also make them understand that the technology that we're adopting within our firms is fundamentally different to, say, an Apple iPhone.
yep.
We're talking about very complex structures, very complex CRMs. You've got processes that are really complex. Every independent financial planning firm is different in the way that they operate. And our expectations, unfortunately, are set by very easy to use technology, but it just won't apply in our sector. I don't think it'll ever apply.
Mm,
So that was the first bit. I wanted to bring that training ethos into the sector. So we did that with TechStack, and TechStack really at its core is we have white label a CRM, but we train very heavily on that product. So it's a big training product for us.
right.
But as we went through that process, we actually thought, we could do this with a bunch of other things because actually technology is starting to take off. So when we started TechStack, what we didn't know was going to happen was the whole Chat GPT AI thing blowing up.
Yeah.
And as soon as I saw that, and I think you were the same, you were obviously one of the pioneers on AI in the sector. I just I just took a step back and thought this is going to completely change everything.
Mm,
And I don't know how it's going to change everything yet, but I do know that in 4 to 5 years, financial planning firms will look fundamentally different than they do today. So for next gen planners, my thought process was if we want to be forward thinking, if we want to help firms, grow and thrive, which we do, we just have to be at the forefront of this. And there's a lot of fear at the moment, and we kind of want to educate rather than uh, uh, be one of the fearmonger companies out there that I think you'll see in the next few years. So yeah, it's just something that we're very aware of. I've got a particular interest in technology. I'm always playing around with how to make things more efficient. So I've always in my career been obsessed with processes.
right.
So the fact that technology and AI can form part of that just felt like a natural fit.
Yeah, 100%. And it's great that you're one of the well, you're at the forefront, the cutting edge in more ways than one, because the industry needs people like you who are basically going to effectively test and trial what's out there to begin with, and then blend that in and build it back into what's, doable and what's doable in the real world. Because the biggest challenge that we see with firms is, they've got so much on with their own business anyways. We talked about running a business and so forth. And then added on top of that, they've got all this new shiny, tech coming through. And it's just like, where do they start? And
Yeah.
you've got all the usual issues around legacy tech, fetid APIs that don't talk necessarily as well, and poor quality data, lack of data lakes. Because we talk a lot about the need for data lakes rather than rock pools of data that we've currently got, or warehouses. Where do you see AI in particular going, Adam? Because what we see is, and the reason why we've got involved in AI around RegTech is where compliance tech is involved and governance and risk tech is actually the way firms should be looking at it is it's a great enabler to enable to get their businesses far more effective and efficient, client centric. And then guess what? It adds more value to the business if they're going to sell it further down the line. So it's not just about compliance. What's your take on that?
On AI or that
On
specific
AI,
piece?
sorry, yeah, on AI.
Yeah. As I say, I think AI is going to change everything. We just don't know how yet. So if I look at if I look at a very specific example, I mean, there's absolutely no excuse in today's world that you shouldn't be able to use AI to give you some sort of marketing or content. There's no excuse. I mean, you look at the tools, you've got ChatGPT, you've got a range of tools that can help you come up with ideas. You always need to put your own spin on that, and because people don't want to read AI content, but we're in this world now where you should never really have this blank page. And I think that's what AI has done to content and marketing. So I think that's been the biggest impact. But I think if that trickles throughout the business, once people get used to using these technologies and understanding how to write prompts, how to, get their data, the data is a big thing. You know that data, if your data's not in the right way, in the right format, on the right technology, you've got no chance with AI. So
Yeah.
that's something that
Yeah.
you've got to get right. But if you've got this stuff right, and I'm starting to play with things like Microsoft Copilot. I mean, it's very effective at reducing time when you get used to it. I mean, a simple example: we all have email threads, and email threads are the killers of all businesses.
Yeah.
And just the ability to press a button that says "Summarize by Copilot" tells you exactly what's happening, exactly the action points. I think people should be using AI in their meetings. I'm a massive believer that, AI listening into your meetings and giving you recaps, all that kind of thing. We're in a world now where you shouldn't really be doing your own meeting notes.
Mm.
You don't necessarily need a second chair in there, which used to be the big thing.
Yeah.
So if you think about all these compounding things and some of your software as well, we're talking about taking time away from what used to be very, very extensive processes, and they still will be.
Mm.
The big question on my mind at the moment is if AI does what we think it's going to do, and I do think it will do that, it'll give time back. And I think you think the same, it'll give time
Yeah.
back to financial planning firms. The big question I'm spending a lot of time on is what will planners do with that extra time?
Yeah.
And is it they'll take 50% of the time off? Or will they grow businesses? Will they be able to finally scale lifestyle financial planning businesses, which I've not really seen yet? So it's just for me, it's just exciting. And you know, the thing about next gen plans is it's not us, it's all about our firms. So we take great success in any of our firms or any of our members being the innovators because that's what we're all about.
Yeah, and really good points, well made. And I think one of the things which I'm sure you'd agree with is, we've both been, I class myself as a financial advisor. You were a financial planner, in previous lives. Um, People need people at the end of the day, and
Mhm.
I see, tech AI as as augmenting, human endeavor rather than being a replacement. I'm just interested in your views around financial planning because you know it far better than I do. What are the areas that you see tech or AI enabling financial planners to do to get that time back and also to help them with their client engagement piece?
Yeah, I mean, I mean, we have so much data from our membership, and some of the data tells us, look, you know, some financial planners struggle to present their fees to clients and talk to clients about fees. A lot of them are time poor,
Yep.
inefficient. A lot of them struggle to get in front of their clients, as much as they want to. A lot of them struggle to personalize communication. So we look at all those points. There's no reason AI can't improve every single one of them. So the big thing for me is if you can get your time back as a financial planner, the ability to spend more time talking with your client, building that relationship, building your network with other potential clients is huge. Absolutely huge. I mean, I've lost count of the amount of financial planners I speak to every week that say, look, I can't go out and network because I'm dealing with my existing client bank, or I haven't got a client bank and I need to go out, I need to
Mm.
get clients. How do I do that? Well, the tools are out there now to start playing around with some of this stuff to help you. So, and we're very early on. You know, what are we,
Yeah,
14 months from when ChatGPT launched
yeah,
and all these tools are coming into the space. So I think it's not slowing down, Chris. It's getting faster. So
yeah.
yeah.
Totally
Um,
agree. Totally agree with you. And I think I always kind of like look at it of where we are with the AI space in particular. And AI has been around for many, many years. Go back to the, Alan Turing days and so
mm,
forth. And can machines learn? But modern AI, I kind of call it, and particularly the LLM stuff. We're kind of at a stage where we've got like a Motorola flip phone, which might be a bit before your time, I don't know, but
no,
it was
no, remember it.
pre-smartphone times, and we're not at the smartphone age yet of AI, which is actually quite scary when you look at what AI can already do. So you're right; it's only going to get
Well,
faster and
the
more
cu-
expensive.
the current time, the current like environment feels to me, and I remember it to this day, when Intelliflow came into our office and pitched us the cloud,
Yeah,
the idea. So we were in the early days, we used these servers. I think we used Advisor Office, which had the disk that you had to update, the software
yeah,
you had to update, and all that sort of stuff. And Intelliflow came into the office, and they had a back office where all the documents, all the storage was in the cloud.
yeah,
And it was that for me was the last, apart from maybe COVID, where you had Zoom and Teams come into it a lot more, that was a fundamental shift in financial planning for me. And it feels like that moment's going to happen fairly quickly again.
yeah. It's a really, really good example. So, with a few minutes left, we like to ask some blow the doors off questions to our guests, if that's okay. So, first and foremost, Adam, just tell our listeners and viewers one thing about you that they may not know and you're willing to share.
Okay, interesting question. Okay. I set up and own a an Amazon company,
Ah,
actually. Yeah, selling vegan sweets.
vegan sweets.
Vegan sweets, yeah. So,
Fantastic. You willing
uh,
to share the name?
yeah, So Sweetie is on Amazon. I think we're
Great
the
name.
second top seller of vegan sweets
Brilliant.
on Amazon. But just a bit of fun,
Yeah,
just set it up during COVID and just played around with it.
good on you. Good on you. And if you could change one thing about the planning profession and the financial services industry, what would it be?
Oh,
I think you're already
difficult.
changing stuff anyway, but
Um, I think we're seeing it anyway, but we're just believers in collaboration
yeah,
rather than competition.
yeah,
So
great point.
I think we're all stronger together as a profession rather than separate. So, some of the things that I see on social media towards certain companies, certain individuals, I just don't get it. I
Yeah,
think it makes us look poor as a profession.
agreed. Good point. And finally, where would you see yourself in 5 years?
Same place,
Good
absolutely
on you.
same place. Doing what I do now, speaking to financial planning firms, helping them, shape. I think the technology will be different. I'm a bit worried if I'm being honest, because you and I both know that we've got to keep up in what we do in terms of technology. So just staying curious in everything to do with what's going on in financial planning world, but excited. So I wouldn't change my job for the world. I absolutely love it.
Brilliant. That's a great place to leave it, Adam. Thanks so much for your time. We very much appreciate you guesting today.
Thanks, Chris. Take care, mate.
All the best.